Hello, I've decided to do a short video on functional skills resources that can support you with traineeships, specifically for the delivery day element, but they can also be adapted for apprenticeships. So before I go any further, we'll look at the funding rules to why these particular resources have been created. So within the funding rules, especially around 16 to 18-year-olds, it states that institutions must be able to demonstrate educational progression for students recruited into programs funded by the ESFA and be able to record evidence of good educational reasons for any individual students recruited to the program which do not provide progression. All such students should only make up a small percentage. So remember, with traineeships, you've got the quality aspect when it comes to success, and then you've got the funding aspect when it comes to success. So to safeguard us from a funding point of view, we need to clearly demonstrate where knowledge and skills have been learnt on the program, which is why these new resources, along with a presentation and workbooks to record and demonstrate this with regards to Ofsted. From a funding point of view, they do need to still aim to sit their exams, but should they not be able to, then we need to provide evidence of what they have achieved during the programme. Okay, so where are you going to find these particular resources? The same place with all the traineeship elements within operations, general. Scroll down to traineeships. Within traineeships, it's in the delivery resources, and you'll see a new third day, which is going to become a mandatory part of the delivery functional skills. When you view these documents within SharePoint or before downloading, they won't present themselves correctly. They'll miss off the headers, logos and so forth. So I suggest that you download them before you open them up and start to use them. So if I now turn to my documents, this is them downloaded. It's got a lesson plan. You've then got the presentation. You've got the presentation in a manual format or a PDF format to support remote training. You've then got workbooks for level 1 and level 2, and then you've got answers to support them. So I'll start off with the lesson plan. Okay, so the lesson plan has highlighted in red the main particular parts that need to be delivered with regard to traineeships. So we've got, it's broken down into 3 sections. You've got the delivery of the presentation. You then got a separate section which covers skills first or functional skills in general, particular style questions. And then finally, you've got an English speaking element to it as well. So without going through all of this, I'll demonstrate it in front of you. Okay, so the first part that I'll jump onto is the presentation itself. So this presentation originally was created around about 5 years ago, but it's currently or recently been revamped, updated, rebranded, and modernized a little bit with regards to the example questions included. These are the sections which are covered. Each of the pages or the final page of each of these particular sections will have this little blue post-it note which summarizes the information that's on the slide, so that you can so the learner is able to make some like pigeon style notes. You've also then got a challenge level 1, challenge level 2, which refers to the level 1, level 2 style questions. So the bonus of using this particular presentation is you can address both level 1 and level 2 students or learners at the same time, and they can both have a go at either questions. An additional slide I've put in at the very beginning, a common question which comes up in the functional skills is check your answer using an alternative method. So this particular slide shows you how you can attack that using one of 2 methods. One, finding an alternative method, or another way of reversing that particular equation. So as you work your way through the slides, again, it covers each of those particular sections. You'll have calculators come up when you're allowed to use calculators, although on the exams you're allowed to use calculators throughout. You'll have the answers to the questions within the notes sections for all of the slides, which don't have the answers on the slide itself. And then you work your way through. And finally, to end that presentation, I've taken a snapshot of a Skills First mock exam question, which are free to download from Skills First. And then I've broken it down into how exactly the answers the marks are awarded by the invigilator, the examiner, using some colour coding to give you some real guidance behind that. This particular slide also sits on the workbook itself. And that concludes that presentation. So if we have a look at one of these workbooks, we'll use level 2. Okay, so it's a nice simple workbook which I've put into an active IQ style format to give it a bit more formality. Section 1, I've got 3 blank pages which you can of course add to. I've specifically left them blank so that the learners or trainees aren't guided with what is put into these sections, but it's a great way to capture the evidence and should be opened up and used during the presentation. This is the slide I referred to, which breaks down what Skills First will be looking to and how the marks are awarded. And then you can fall into your second section after perhaps a break. And this looks at Skills First or functional skills specific style questions, so we can really get the trainees or the learners prepared for the types of questions, the type of wording which would be used in the exams. These workbooks are all remote friendly, so you can use these electronically should you need to email them across, or print it off and used as part of the delivery session. It contains 2 tasks. Each task has 3 to 4 parts within that task to really give them a good understanding of the types of questions. The final section covers the English speaking side of it, although it says maths at the top. This is specifically due to the functional skills delivery day, which sits within traineeships because it's covered on this day. This is just 1 blank page so that the trainees or learners are able to record some evidence of how they've prepared for those speaking exams. Things like what I refer to as fire starters, or sort of open-ended questions or different styles of questions to reignite conversations or topics should they start to die down. So again, it's a great way of capturing evidence that's great for the learners to refer to, and of course for an Ofsted point of view with regards to quality. And that concludes that workbook. Both the workbooks are the same for level 1, level 2. It's just these particular questions here will be relevant to the levels. So what will the examiners be looking for? How are they answered? You have a separate answer workbook which you can print off and issue to the learners, or you can present it as a presentation. And it breaks down each of those questions. This only covers the questions that are on the workbook, so you don't have to go searching for it. So the first question is worth 5 marks. This is where the marks are captured. So it's nice and simple. So finally, as explained, I've also put it into a manual format or a PDF format should you need to issue it across as a to complete electronically or to complete remotely. Exactly the same as the presentation, except for the answers to the slides that don't have answers on them is captured at the end there. And that pretty much concludes the maths functional skills. These elements here can be delivered over 4 hours, and that will leave some additional time to add some English elements to these workbooks in the style of some Skills First mock exam questions, which will be coming soon. Thank you for listening.